What about if I tell you that everything I'm going to share with you, beloved, about Kundalini Awakening will completely shatter your perception about spiritual transformation and spiritual awakening? If you are a sincere seeker and you're looking for the real sacred truth about spiritual ascension, you have come to the right place. No fantasy. I have gone through this awakening, Kundalini ascension, that was so incredibly furious and fast-forward movement over decades ago, and it actually lasted a whole decade, and it was unbelievable. So we're going to demystify it. It's about time to demystify the truth. And even the texts in the Siddha lineage, many texts talks about how a spiritual awakening is the greatest blessing and yet can be the biggest challenge and struggle for a true sincere seeker. And so when I went through this, I will tell you the story, so make sure you stay tuned until the end. And looking back, walking through the fire of Kundalini Awakening, it was like from agony through ecstasy. And so most sincere seekers are really confused, and they are wrongly, dangerously believing that spiritual awakening and Kundalini ascension are different. First of all, they are the same. And also is that it is a completely burning of karma. And so it's not just bliss and light like many of you think. And so if we look back to the ancient tradition, it is a phenomenon that will bring about so many blessings and so many big struggles. So we're going to look into what they are. Are you ready, beloved? And I will share my story, because when it happened to me, it was in 2008 when I was diagnosed with very advanced breast cancer that metastasized in my body temple. But I'll go through the whole story, and when we get further into this video satsang, and feel free. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions. Don't hesitate, and if your questions are profound, I will answer all of them. So what are the blessings? Let's start with that. What are the blessings of Kundalini ascension? When I mean ascension, it means it has been awakened, it's rising, and you ascending, meaning the energy is moving up into the Shushumna Nadi. So the first blessing is experiencing your divine presence, what Devi Ma called exactly that, divine presence, which is your true nature. In the yogic tradition, we call it Chit Ananda, from Sanskrit, which means Sat for absolute truth, Chit, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, pure consciousness, and Ananda, bliss. Bliss from your own true nature, not an external object, but from your true divine presence. So it's ecstasy and bliss for no reason, because it's your true divine presence. Is the greatest blessing, and it's worth going through all obstacle. And I will say to you, in going through this demystification, I can save you years of nightmare and suffering and pain and wondering and worries, because you don't need to go through that. This is not fantasy. I have gone through this And if you want to know even more deeply, I highly suggest you read Becoming the Light, Realize Your True Enlightened Nature, which is my major book. And you can read about it in the comments section. Highly recommend it, because you will get all the fine details. So the second blessing is to become one with everything. Not intellectually, but experientially. It's a sense of contentment, of expansion of consciousness, of deep in equanimity and tranquility and detachment also, meaning that all the entanglement have been cut. You can rest within and repose into your own true nature. And so this is phenomenal, because this is who we are. And all that you have accumulated, the conditioning, the brainwashing, and I would say the conditioning, all of that is not who you are. So it's getting free of all of that is not you, to come at the truest sense of your divine presence, and so to become one with everything experientially. And that's a blossoming. It takes time. It does not happen overnight. This is a process as the energy pierces through Kundalini Shakti, pierce through in every major 7 chakra. And now the third blessing is your physical appearance will change drastically. Your eyes will have this light that is almost like ethereal, a beautiful light, and even can emanate this divine feminine energy, because Kundalini Shakti is divine feminine energy, is the primordial energy. I won't go into all of this now in this satsang, because there's a whole playlist on Kundalini. I highly recommend you spend some time there and you learn the very basic of what it is. And so the physical appearance, the Divine Mother comes and purifies karmically what needs to be purified, getting rid of all the garbage. So what you see is like a huge transformation. It's like when the lotus blossom and emanate this beautiful aromatic fragrance, it emanates from your soul, your spirit, and from your presence. And physically too, I would say to you, in my case, it really has happened, and I've seen it with many other. It's a beauty that is almost ethereal, and the light in the eyes, it's so... Shakti can emanate. I've been told that many times. It's like there could be a transmission of Shaktipat through the eyes of a spiritual master, because the light is so beautiful, divine, and profound. But through going through this divine transformation, burning to the sacred fire of Mahashakti will bring about that physical transformation as well. And your voice will change. I remember my voice was very different decades ago. And this is a phenomenal gift, a blessing. So, and the fourth one is mystical experiences. And Siddhi, from Sanskrit, Siddhi means spiritual power. And then Samadhi. Samadhi is a certain state of deep equanimity of consciousness. There are 3 things. I won't go in that, because we can have video satsang just on that. But to tell you, those blessings are phenomenal. Mystical experiences can be when you start tapping into your Vijna Maya Kosha, what I call the cosmic mind, that is beyond the physical, is where you can have vision of deity, you can hear sound, otherworldly sound, you can have smell that are divine, smell that are otherworldly. You can develop spiritual power, CD. You can have mystical dreams that are like visitation, where you can have a year and now visitation. There are many, many different kind of mystical experiences. I'm thinking of which one can I share here. There's so many. It's like I talk about that in depth in my book. You can start speaking in tongue. You can remember your past life, a vision of your past life, like it has happened to this one. I have talked about that in many other videos, that song. I'm sure some of you have heard the story. And then CD, spiritual power, are many. Clairvoyance, there are telepathy. I'm just giving you a few. And samadhi, there are many types of samadhi, from savikalpa samadhi, where you are actively involved in the world and yet in complete quiet bliss, ecstasy, like Devi Ma experienced that. And there is Nirvakalpa Samadhi. This is another very advanced state of samadhi where your eyes are closed and you go into a pure consciousness state. You go very deep and then you experience the oneness of existence. And so those are some of the blessings. I think if you want a video satsang on this, just that alone can be a whole drinking bliss divine satsang. Wouldn't you agree? And so the last one in terms of blessing is clarity. Sharp clarity, objective, seeing things as they are, not subjectively. It means enlightenment. Is pushing the boundaries of ignorance. Is that the Kundalini Awakening, ascension, is walking from untruth to truth, darkness to light, ignorance to enlightenment. And as you're blossoming, then you are blossoming into enlightenment. And that's the beauty, is that you start seeing everything with clarity, and then you experience the glory of our Creator, whatever name we call it. And so the blessings are so worth it and so phenomenal for what are the big struggle and challenges. But don't worry, we have the solution. There are so many remedies, and the seeker who are into trouble is because they haven't known those solutions, those remedies, and we will get there. So just stay tuned. We're getting closer. And the first big struggle I remember is for this one, when I started to awaken, which was so long ago. It looks like a different lifetime, is emotional upheaval. This is the first one you will experience. Emotional upheaval, like volcano, exploding, sobbing, screaming, crying, or it could be just a sensation like a heaviness. You want to sob, you want to mourn, but it's not coming out because the energy is turning to Mahashakti, the Divine Mother. Again, is the divine feminine energy comes and purify the karmic structure, the samskara, the impression, the karmic impression, which is just a memory, either from this lifetime or past lifetime, or it could be vasana, tendency, from this lifetime or past lifetime. And so purifying, and so it always happen when the Kundalini happen is it start from the Muladhara at the sacrum, where we know that the Shakti Kundalini is actually called Kundalini Shakti, is curled like a snake. It's just an iconography, but it's not a snake. It's just how it rises up pierce through it. But then this is when the true Kundalini ascension takes place. It's when the energy explodes in your anahata, in your heart chakra. And then you are starting to experience life in a completely different existence. You're seeing things very differently. All your old system of belief start to die out. It's like piercing a balloon and the illusion of a veil, and it completely explodes. And so if you experience any sensation of energy surging or a lot of discomfort and a lot of emotional upheaval, you start feeling very empathic and you cry easily, you don't know why, and that's because it's the beginning of a true heart opening. Normally it does not happen on your own. It's very rare. Normally it happens for seekers who are already working or walking on the spiritual path. Or maybe you have done certain practices like Kundalini yoga that maybe they were not appropriate, and you forced it and awoken on its own, and that's normally not good, because this is why I have seen a lot of seekers into trouble, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know a lot of the things I'm sharing with you, and that could cause you into going in a complete spiritual crisis. And so this satsang will not only demystify but empower you with what you need to do, beloved, so you don't spend a whole decade going completely crazy. Because some people feel like, oh my God, am I going crazy? And now we're getting to the second upheaval, I should not call it that way, but let's see, big challenge is that out of a sudden you start having a lot of discomfort and maybe physical pain, maybe some tension, very strong tension that is painful. You have a hard time sleeping at night, and you're wondering why. I'm very emotional. I have pain. All kind of pain can happen, and just cannot eat, and pain, when I said emotional upheaval, it can be mental upheaval too, like a lot of torment, mental torment, and maybe start seeing some vision of things that you don't know, what is this all about? It could be already past life vision that you're having. There is a video satsang on the heart opening on our channel. I highly suggest you look at them, like under the playlist, under chakra. We'll explain, because you can start having mystical experiences there that are maybe not so pleasant, only because you don't understand what they are. But when you know what they are, then suddenly you seeing it very differently. So physical pain is probably one of the biggest upheaval. And don't worry, Devi Mayi Ma will explain to you at the end what needs to be done, and it works. I have seen it with a lot of my followers, so who are going through spiritual Kundalini awakening. And the third challenge, struggle, and they're real, they're really real. But don't worry, you could go from agony to incredible bliss. But when you know everything I'm sharing with you, you might not even experience any agony or suffering, because, okay, maybe some sobbing and but this is it's part of awakening, because you are unfrozen. I have said that a lot. And it's like when garbage out, you throwing your garbage, has been there for a very long time. Wouldn't you agree it does not really smell good? And it's not pleasant to take the garbage out when it's not smelling good. So this is what's happening. So the third one is life disturbance. That's a very disturbing one for a lot of people who are not prepared, because spiritual awakening And Kundalini Ascension, as I say, is the same. It's not for the faint of heart. It is for the true, sincere seeker who has a deep longing to know the truth, the absolute truth, to know, who am I? What am I doing here? What is the purpose of my life? And what is my creator? I want to know the divine. I want to know, experience the glory of the divine. You could say the Divine Mother, or you can name it by so many thousands of names. And so disturbance in life, it happened to this one. Oh my God. When you read my book, you will say, oh my God, what a suspense. This is like a thriller. It's like, depending on the movement you are, because if you are on fast forward movement like I was, it's very troubling, unless you're ready for that. I wanted it. I have been demolished by the sacred fire of the Divine Mother. But I wanted it. I was longing for that. I was prepared. And so not everyone wants to be in fast forward movement. There are different movements. I prefer the little slower movement. And unless you want to get it over, done, and you're ready to leave your body temple. Because when karmically everything is burned, if you don't know how to stay in your body temple, you can slip out of the body. And so you need that software to hold you, the karma to hold you. And so life disturbance is like divorce, separation, and people walking out of your life, people like very dear friends. Certainly you have nothing in common anymore. And sometimes it could be, sometimes it's all of the above, all kind of relationship, departing, new husband, new wife, new friends, no friends, solitude, long period of solitude if that's what you need. Sometimes it's great, but having a spiritual master, we'll get there, is extremely important for the right guidance. And it could be a lot of loss, like maybe someone passed away, loss of animal companion. Is like your life, everything is accelerated so fast. It's like a roller coaster. Ooh, it is like intense. And if you have spontaneous kriya, which we're going to talk about, that's the fourth one. We're getting there. This is probably the most significant one in many ways, and the most disturbing one. But in life, disturbance could be change of profession, completely, like you don't know who you are anymore. And that's another one we're going to talk about. What you used to do, you love, let's say you were a professional artist and you were a singer, and now you don't want to sing anymore. You have lost your passion and you don't know anymore. There are so many things that can happen. Moving out to a completely different country, and your life is completely been transformed because you've been burned by the fire of the Divine Mother, the Divine Feminine energy. And when Devi Mayi Ma talk about Divine Feminine energy, I am referring to not in terms of gender. Remember, it's primordial energy. It comes from our Creator. And so there are a lot of videos that song. We have an entire playlist on Kundalini Ascension, and just make sure you spend some time there. And as a matter of fact, there is one coming up at the end of this video set song. It's entitled, I think it's Kundalini Rising versus Spiritual Enlightenment, what very few can understand. Watch that. It's a very important one. I explain in depth the different movement when you go through this spiritual awakening. It's a fascinating, phenomenal blessing I will tell you, I can only bow down. All the struggle and the challenges are so worth it. Because when you start awakening, there's nothing greater that your soul and your spirit wants. So before I would start telling my personal story, a little bit of my personal story, I know a lot of you wants to know, and I will get about what our spontaneous Kriya is. If you love this video satsang, please click the like button and subscribe, join our beloved community, and you will love it. You will feel so empowered and receive spiritual guidance, and share it with your friends and your family, anyone you feel like they really are like stuck or in a rut, or they're a seeker and they need help. And so, and also for spiritual guidance, I don't know if you're aware, this is a very rare blessing. For a short period of time, I have reopened Divine Alchemy Empowerment, a one-to-one session. I work with only very few people, and you have to apply only for advanced seeker. And most of them are going through Kundalini Awakening, or they're about to start. And so there's only a few spots left. However, we just launched a new sanctuary, a yearly membership that is so phenomenal. And this one is entitled In Presence Divine Empowerment. This is a yearly sanctuary with a small group of sincere longing seeker, and this one you got to apply to, and we're starting this Saturday, but you can join throughout the year. It's limited in terms of space, the same with the Divine Alchemy Empowerment. You could check it out on the website. Come and discover. It will be in the description, as well as the link both links will be there in the comment section. So if you have questions, reach out and we will respond. So the fourth one is struggle, and that is probably the biggest one. For someone who does not know about Kundalini and don't know anything at all about spiritual awakening, and even if you know about spiritual awakening, most people don't know about what are spontaneous Kriya. They are basically just natural, mystical occurrences. Spontaneous means it's natural, it's spontaneous. You're not creating that. It is manifested by Mahashakti when she comes and purifies the karmic structure. And so you don't have control over it. You cannot manipulate it, and don't try. Don't try to suppress it. If there is a spontaneous Kriya, let it manifest. As a matter of fact, when I talk about upheaval, emotional upheaval, it is a form of spontaneous Kriya, but it's a mild one. When I talk about volcano, exploding of emotion, when I went through this in the beginning, was many decades ago, I would throw myself on the ground and I would explode and scream and yell and sob. It scared my ex-husband, because he did not know what was happening. I did not know why I was crying. Can you imagine? I had no idea. It was not about this lifetime. I could not remember, but all I know was it needed to come out. But when you go deeper in spontaneous Kriya, it can be shaking of the body, trembling, agitation, of violent rotation of the head, and beating yourself up, because the energy, the voltage of Shaktipad, a Shaktipad is a transmission of divine grace and energy, primordial energy. And this has nothing to do with cult, religion. It's a natural phenomenon that is happening throughout, I would say, forever, throughout many spiritual traditions, and even in some religion, it could happen. They call it by many names. Chi, Ki, Holy Spirit. It doesn't matter. For this one, I would speak in tongue. I would go crazy and yell, and then my body would rotate like crazy, and I couldn't control it, and I would scream Shiva, and then I would start speaking in tongue, a tongue that was an ancient tongue, that not even the language of today. There are some of my followers, or I have seen in my entourage way back then, who would speak in French, who would speak in Italian or in Arabic, and they would sometimes even vomit. You can actually vomit. Who was the great psychologist? He would go into a temple in India. I think it was called Young, excuse me. And when he would attend to a puja, which was like very strong energy of Shakti from the linga, from the deity, the energy form, he would come out, I think he wrote that in one of his books, he would come out and vomit because he was not prepared. If you're not prepared, you could go through a nightmare. And this is what's happening with many of people around the world who are, for whatever reason, if it happened naturally on their own, which is a very small percentage, it's very rare. But, or maybe they have gone through this teacher, this guru, this spiritual master, and I've done this and that and this, but they're not straightforward walking the spiritual path with the right sadhana. And this is what we're going to get that very shortly. But let me finish about the spontaneous kriya. You could actually, I have seen it with my own eyes, crawl on the ground like a snake, because it erases all the karmic memory from so many thousands years of life. It's not just the elemental memory, I mean ancestral memory. It's many different kind of memory of karma. I won't go into all the depth, that would be too long, but it dates from so many thousands of years. I have seen people meowing, I've seen people chirping like a bird. So many things, like memories, like imprinted into your subtle body in form of samskara, of impression. So spontaneous kriya are so many, especially the jabbering of different tongues, ancient language. Where else? Oh, mudra, all kind of mudra. Go into a mudra. I have gone into a mudra. In my book, I talk about that. It was an asana, a pause. I was literally standing on my head, and I was levitating, like I was like a feather. Things that are acrobatic that I could have never done. I've never done in my life, and in those days I had some serious back injury when this occurred. The whole story is in my book. So you can experience different kind of asana, hatha yoga asana, that are extremely difficult, that you could never have done, only because of Shakti. She purified that. It's such a phenomenal mystical experience when Kundalini is rising, that you experience spontaneous kriya. The best thing to do with spontaneous kriya, you surrender. You just move out of the way. This is one of the remedy. You move out of the way and you just bow down with great reverence. Your attitude is very important, beloved. Have the deepest reverence, because it's such a great blessing. And just embrace it. Whatever comes, is just say garbage in, garbage out. It's liberating, and that is the secret. Just know it's liberating. It's like cancer. It is just getting rid of the pus, like getting rid of the cancer. So my story, I won't go into it. I could spend hours, and I could cry, because today still I get tears of incredible gratitude of what I've gone through, because the fast forward movement in Kundalini Ascension is very rare and is extremely difficult, and very few people on the planet can go through this, and it completely demolished my being, and there's no more personality of what I used to think who I was. And I will get to that fifth one, because there is one more. I hope I don't forget it. So it started for me when I was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer, which had metastasized in my body temple. And the whole story is in Becoming the Light, realize your true enlightened nature. I will never forget that night. It was in 2007, and my ex-husband at the time was traveling a lot, and he left me a lot, and I was just recently diagnosed. And that night, I look at myself in the mirror. I was getting ready for bed, cleaning my face, brushing my teeth, and I had this big realization that I could lose my life over cancer. It was a big diagnosis, and that I was going through chemotherapy and surgery and radiation, and it was like my whole life had shattered. And I don't know, there was a moment that was so deeply profound, and it was like I met my Creator in that moment, and I screamed to God. And I started sobbing, and I collapsed to the ground. There was this profound realization that I was already awakened, but because you will know when you read my book, there's too many amazing stories. But there was the fire, Agni was burning inside of me, was literally, I could physically burn a fire, and I screamed, and I said to my Creator, how can you have, I don't remember, I said, forsake me. It was like, I need you. It was like screaming, and I was in that state of deep abandonment, and I know my Kundalini was in fire that day. It was so intense. It was like experiencing the shaft of light through my being burning, so much karma, and feeling that burning sensation, especially here. And I experienced the Divine Mother, Divine Grace in that moment. I will never forget when I went in bed that night, I put the blanket of Divine Grace over my being, and I was in complete bliss and ecstasy, and in complete, for that moment, but it was not like that many years later. And because I was in such a deep sense of abandonment, that, and a deep trust and faith that whatever happened, and acceptance that if I died, if I leave my body, it's okay. I'm ready to go. And this was that deep, deep reverence to my Creator. Whatever you choose, whatever happened, I'm in a state of surrender, a state of deep reverence, and I trust. And there's this deep sense of equanimity. So the rest of the story to be continued in Becoming the Light, if you want to know more. This is just like one drop. And so many years went by, not long after, Oh, on the spiritual path, my Kundalini, doing all that I did, the sadhana, intense sadhana, 6-hour sadhana, so many spiritual master, great enlightened master came into my life. It just happened in such a phenomenal way for this one. It was furious, like I said, I don't recommend it, it's not for everyone. My disciple and followers and devotee, it's the pace is a little bit more pleasant because you can still have a life. When you go in fast forward movement, it's almost impossible to have a normal life. I can tell you, because I did not have a normal life. Still today, I don't have a normal life. And so the Kundalini was going crazy. I would go in convulsion on the floor, screaming, Shiva, sobbing, shaking, beating myself up. And I didn't mention that in my book. I would get black and blue on my leg. We had to put a pillow so I could protect myself because it was so intense. And it went on and on and on for so many years. It went on for, it slowed down like about probably 8 years later. And speaking in tongue and having vision, a lot of vision of my past life karma. I know I have lived in India many times. It's all in my book, all the stories, so many beautiful and mystical stories. And however, I've never had those spontaneous kriya, like chirping, like animal spontaneous kriya. For me, it was more like some of the, like I said, those acrobatic asana, levitation kind of, I was so light, you know, and the violent rotation of my head was severe, and jabbering, who knows what was coming out of my mouth. And I would have a lot of visitation also in my dream. I had many, when I mean many, if you get 5 in a lifetime, it's phenomenal. It's very rare. That's what I mean, many. And they were very profound. Some of them I share in my book. Too many stories to tell. And so it went on. This was like over several decades ago. And all the blessing I've been talking to you in the beginning, I've all manifested, not just in this one, but it's a universal phenomenon. And this process takes time. It's a blossoming. So you will see that your energy could stay in the Anahata for a whole lifetime. It depends. Who is in charge is the Divine Mother, and of course with divine grace. So let's talk about what are the solutions, beloved. What are the remedy? It's simple. I have shared some of them already. Number 1 is that you need to be on the spiritual path. Have a spiritual master and receive the proper spiritual guidance. Don't go to this workshop, that workshop. Too many things will confuse you, and there's so many things out there. And so to enter into a relationship of guru shishya, from Sanskrit it just means teacher and student. That's all what it means. A genuine spiritual master is very important to receive the proper guidance. And then secondary is that you need to be on the right sadhana. And this is the problem, the big challenge and struggle that you see with a lot of sincere seeker, or maybe just people who are in personal growth development. They do all kind of workshop, maybe with Kundalini, and it turned out to be nightmares. And then they don't know what to do, and they're blind to the reality of what is spiritual awakening, and they're not on the spiritual path. They don't do the proper sadhana. What I mean the proper sadhana is a lot of things, but the most important here for the energy to surge properly in the nadi, what we call the main important nadi, is called the sushumna. Sushumna is in the hollow of the spine. The spine is the most important in the yogic tradition, is the axis between earth and infinity, where the divine feminine energy ascend. And so in the sushumna, if the energy doesn't go into the proper nadi, into the sushumna, this is where it can create a lot of disturbance in the physical body. And so doing Kriya Yoga, working with the life force energy, is super important. Here with Devi Mayi Ma at the Radiating the Light at a spiritual retreat, which you can find out also on our website, we impart the Siddha Satchit Kriya Ananda, which is a beautiful Kriya. It's highly effective. And then for the third remedy is like, I have touched on that a little bit. Beloved, you need to be in deep reverence with the right attitude. When you see what a great, rare, phenomenal blessing it is, you bow down. And I mean you bow down physically. You bow down to the Creator. You could say to the Divine Mother, bow down. Physically, it will stop any physical disturbance. You will notice it will calm you down, and there is a specific way how to bow down. But it's not doing it and not feeling it. You have to have the reverence within your own being. What I mean by that, to be in a state of trust, in a state of surrender, a sense of abandonment. And when you bow down, you say, I trust what is happening unfold according to your grace. And so when you combine those three remedies, the ride will be smooth and beautiful. And when you go through certain movement where, okay, because movement can change as you go through Kundalini ascension, and then it could go faster by moment and suddenly it goes slower. This could happen. It doesn't mean because you're at a movement right now, you will always stay at the same movement. You could go suddenly at fast forward movement, and then suddenly it could go to medium movement and then go back to fast mode. So it's Mahashakti knows for every one of you what's best. So you have to trust and bow down and realize what a great blessing. And you will see tear of gratitude and ecstasy will come and will just naturally manifest in you. And as you go through it, more garbage out, the easier it's going to be. And you will enjoy the ride. And so I'm here for you. And if you have any question, write it down in the comment section. And please write comment. Where was that for you in this divine satsang that you say, oh my God, Devi Ma, this really struck a light for me. I am experiencing that. So if you're experiencing anything that is unusual in your life, write it down in the comment section. And I am here in devotion for you. Namaste.